I think he could take it to a whole another level, and I think he should be. And I'm kind of a little bit worried now that that they're losing their faith in him.
Yeah, it's certainly not the Kevin Owens from last year when he came on and fought John Cena and could hold his own. Why on earth when this reminds me similar of Seth last year, but I mean Seth Rollins could play that better, but a guy like Kevin Owens shouldn't be playing this kind of role. I mean he was big, dominant in NXT, and I prefer that. But now it's like I always refer it back to the Randy Orton when he I don't know if you can remember back to that TLC match, but when they merged the two belts back together, when it was him and John Cena, and then Randy Orton had that awful run where he just was pretty much like he become like a guy that just runs away all the time. Like his character had been totally demolished all the way to WrestleMania 30. It was just awful. I just feel like they do the same thing over and over again. It's like it's just a different guy, different name, but same character almost. I thought with Kevin Owens they could really do something different here. But yeah, I've not been enjoying his work at all. Even though I've liked the chemistry between him and Jericho, I'm just saying in ring, I think he's so much more better than what he's been given. And then just not. I don't think Seth Rollins particularly was the person to have him go up against straight away. I really don't. I think he could have done with a run against guys that haven't been at that level just yet, and or more established guys that are not sort of craving that level. But Seth Rollins is so close to it. We see this guy come back from an injury. It's like, I just think it was too soon for him to be involved in all this. But that might be down to injuries and all the rest of it, and of course the whole Roman Reigns affair in the summer and all that stuff. So who knows? For me, unlike the first one, I'm giving this an extra half. I'm giving this a 4 stars, the same as Matt. I did think it was a little bit better than the first one for me, and I feel both done a decent job. Just unfortunate that again it's another Hell in a Cell, and I might be a bit old school here, but I mean Hell in a Cell. Whenever people say that to me, it's like it's vicious, it's violent. It should mean so much more than what it's kind of coming off as sometimes. But nonetheless, that's what we got. Okay, well, before we go any further, folks, gives me some time just to tell you that also tonight we also have an interview with RJ Singh, who came back on the show. He talks to us about his wrestling in-ring return to wrestling, what he's been up to, who he's been working for, find out his thoughts on the likes of NXT, the WWE, all the world of sport news that's been going on, the promotions he's been working for, we even get quite a few questions going in. There's quite a funny moment where we do a little bit of role playing about people on the street when they call a wrestler a fake. What you're doing is fake, and how he handles that. It's quite a good answer that he gives on the podcast. So yeah, all that and more. Don't miss it, folks. It's available absolutely now. You can just go and listen to that whenever you want. So yeah, guys, get into that. Matt, let's move on. WWE Cruiserweight Championship now, and I don't know what I was thinking out of this, but TJ Perkins, I mean Brian Kendrick, what did you make of this match and the whole just the whole thing going in, Matt? Because it's not exactly been the cruiserweight from the classic what we was watching a few months ago. It has been a little bit stale. There doesn't seem like there's enough depth going on at the moment. Brian Kendrick seems like the only sort of character that they have there at the moment. What's your take going into this? And obviously this was another chance to see him on a pay-per-view, but it's just the same two guys again, and there's a different result obviously. But was you expecting that?
Well, not really. I mean, I will agree with you and say Brian Kendrick is the kind of character, but the thing that destroys this for me is the whole storyline they had going into this. I guess, like, in wrestling, you always want the good guy to get cheered and the bad guy to get booed. But after you backstage segments, and Kendrick's like, no, you have to let me win. You know, I'm not as good as you. It makes you just feel like, oh, poor guy. You know, I feel sorry for this guy. You know, and you don't really want to be feeling sorry for the bad guy. Like, oh, well, what's he going to do if he doesn't win? You know, oh, poor guy. And then he goes out there and. You know this guy's a cheater. You know he cheats every opportunity he gets, and then you're going to be stupid enough to believe and fall for like one of the oldest tricks in the book. Oh, come on! You know, I couldn't believe it. I was thinking, well, you criticised him, said he shouldn't be cheating, and you said before you know him better than he knows himself, and you fall for that. Just the storyline really ruined it for me in that sense. I think otherwise the match itself was pretty decent. You know, it was, like I said, it was nothing like it was at the Cruiserweight Classic. I'm kind of like lowering my expectations now. I'm kind of believing to myself that, you know, they won't go to those sort of heights. They won't top the Cruiserweight Classic on Raw. But if this is the way that it is, you know, so be it. You know, it's a little bit disappointing that they won't actually push the boat out a little bit more and go a little bit full on. But, you know, if they're worried about injuries or stuff like that, or working at a faster pace, then that could be one of the issues they're having. But, you know, just a reasonable kind of match for me. I would have given this one, say, about 3 stars, because I was actually looking forward to this one after seeing some of the abysmal kind of 6-minute ones we'd had up to this point.
Yeah, I mean, it was what it was. I mean, Brian Kendrick winning, that just reminded me of the Brian Pillman finishes that he used to do, that kind of finish. That just reeked of that moment. Yeah, Brian Kendrick going over was a surprise to me, but again, you know, I just got this feeling that Vince McMahon is not very keen on the cruiserweights, and he's probably thought to himself, well, the only guy I kind of know, who I even had a belt on once with Paul London, is Brian Kendrick. So I'm just going to go back to this guy for a while, and he'll be my heel champion, and he'll just take on, you know, these guys without much of the character, and just send them out all the time. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like they've gone from having the cruiserweights with so much respect and all the rest of it. Now I'm starting to realise why the other wrestlers never signed, quite frankly. Because they might have known that this was going to be the case. This is the way it was going. And yeah, this is like, for me, Matt, it's like how they used to treat the women. It's like you get like 2, when we used to get like 2 women at a time each month, and then you wouldn't see the rest of them for forever, like until like another 6 months or something. That's how they're working this cruiserweight business at the moment, and it's not enjoyable in the slightest, which is a shame. Again, TJ, I mean, the thing is, he's not a great talker, but I mean, the stuff he does in NXT is really good, and I feel like it's a shame. I said this last week, that if knowing that they were only going to do this with the cruiserweights on Raw, it just seems like a bit of a filler. It's a shame they just don't have that cruiserweight belt on NXT, and actually make something of it, because it would be so much better down there. But yeah, it's just going to get lost on this one for sure. My star for this, just 2.5 stars for me on this one. But yeah, was going into this very low expectations after what I'd seen with the cruiserweights in general. Matt, after this we had the Raw Tag Team titles, where we had the challengers Cesaro and Sheamus, best of 7. Matt, I'm sure that rings a bell with you. And now they're obviously tag team partners. We spoke about them briefly last week about the comedic element of Cesaro and not enjoying that as much. But up against the New Day, Matt, that still obviously hold this tremendous record. They probably smart booking the way this went down. But what did you make of the match itself, Matt, in general? And also, what do you actually think of Cesaro and Sheamus as a tag team?
Well, I was questioning this a little bit, and I did actually have it in my mind at one point. I was thinking, well, these guys would make sort of great tag team champions, but if they were at a different time, because we know right now this is the New Day's kind of time, and they've been dominating the tag team scene. But I think if Cesaro and Sheamus had teamed at any other point, they would have been quite a force to be reckoned with in the tag team division. And it's kind of a shame, really, because if they were on SmackDown, they'd be killing it down on SmackDown. I think they've kind of gelled really well as a team. This kind of like sort of they don't like each other. We've seen it many times, like we said before. We've seen it with Kane and Daniel Bryan, and they had it with other people throughout the years. But I think they do complement each other's styles quite well because they're both kind of like the backbone of the company, where you put them in the mid card, they always seem to be consistently mid card unless they really short on top, and then they might use Sheamus for that kind of thing. But they do definitely work an old school kind of style, and I like the way that they do that. This match for me was quite interesting as well because I felt they put a lot of decent hard work into this, and at times it felt like this could be the night, except I had it in the back of my mind thinking, well, that record's so close, would WWE really pass up the opportunity to break another record? I'm kind of saying no. But I did feel the emotion in this match, especially at the end when I was thinking, oh man, that's such a shame. I was thinking, because it was so good up until that point, and then to have it all just work that way just for a disqualification was really kind of disappointing because I felt there was a lot to this match, a lot of emotion, like as to who could take the titles off the New Day, and if it's not Sheamus and Cesaro, then who will it be?
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. I felt in the ring, I felt these two were a lot better than I thought they'd be with each other, and also there were moments in the match, Matt, where I felt like the New Day were almost playing the heels, the villains, a little bit in this. So I do really think there's something between Cesaro. I mean, Cesaro's always been good in tag teams in general. He's always seems to have done well in that. For Sheamus, it's kind of a new thing, really, with the tag stuff with him, because he's always predominantly been the singles guy, even though he had that horrible run, of course, recently with the League of Nations. But in general, he's always pretty much a singles wrestler. So it's different for him to be in this as well. But I just like you say, Matt. I don't know if it's just the wrong time for these guys. It's almost like they're perfect together, but just at the wrong time. But I could see them and perhaps Gallows and Anderson having something good going on. But I'm sure going into Survivor Series, Matt, there's opportunity there for them guys to be involved in that. The sum up of the end of the match, obviously it was a DQ. It was a win for Cesaro and Sheamus, but obviously without the belts. That was obviously the way it was played. Like I said, it's kind of that was the only way I guess you could have both of them keeping credibility, but which does give some hope to Sheamus and Cesaro that there might be more in the pipeline for these guys. But what was your sum up of the match, Matt, and the result?
I quite enjoyed it. I mean, I think in the end I gave it 3.5 because I felt like they couldn't really take it much more further. If they were trying to protect the New Day like they obviously were, didn't want to take the titles off of them. The only other way this could have been improved on would have been if Sheamus and Cesaro actually won. I'm not saying they should have won, but it definitely would have shook things up a little bit and made things certainly more interesting in the coming weeks. But yeah, 3.5 stars from me. I think they took it all the places they need to under the restrictions they had.
Yep. For me, this was a 3 stars for me. Just fit in that category. But like I say, hopefully WWE will not overlook Cesaro and Sheamus too much in all this, and we might see something good come of it. Because we certainly had to sit through quite a lot of these two guys, for sure. Before we move on to the main event itself, Matt, we had I don't know if you caught it, the Brock Lesnar Goldberg kind of introduction, and all I could think when I was watching that sort of interview that Brock gave was, why didn't they just air that in Minnesota on Raw last week? Like, why have them go out and Just, good grief. Because that was much better. I mean, that's to be honest, the first when Goldberg come back, and what I saw last night, that's getting me engaged in the match. But obviously, what happened last week on Raw was just it's just like.